what kind of spray are we doing?
All right, you just gave me a little soft jet. You're not trying to
Jet or?
put the little jet stream on, right? But you're just barely, you're not, yeah.
We're not going.
Oh my God. Why would you do that? You're terrible. We are taking on super large format tile for the main wall in our custom shower. This was our first time dealing with tiles this large, and it definitely didn't come without some hard lessons learned. If you drop this, you're gonna have major problems. About 15 places, they broke off basically flush with the tile. Thankfully, we have a top-notch tile helper to keep us straight. George, you're naked as a bird. You can't set tile when you're naked. Good boy. Look at him collapsing his ridges. Oh, he's licking the thin side. George, grab those bags, please. I'm over to lick your shoe.
Give me kisses.
The floor tile in our bathroom is officially done, and my back is thrilled. Now we have to finish it out with this beautiful, fully tiled shower, 2 niches on both sides. We're doing super large format tile in the back, subway on the sides. This is gonna be a good one. We're going start to finish on tiling our shower. Real quick before we get into tiling, throughout this entire project, we have come to realize that our mission going forward is going to be helping other people build out their dream home and homestead. That's why next year we are starting something a little bit new. It's called Buy Land Build Dreams, and we're launching our first product early in 2026. If you're planning a dream home build, renovation, or any other major home improvement project, it's made exactly for you and could save you a ton of time, energy, and money. But I wanna say thank you to the people who are watching our weekly everyday videos like this one. And that's why we're giving away a special launch bonus with the product to those only who are on our email list. So head to masondixonacres.com or scan the QR code on screen if you're watching on a TV. That'll take you to our email sign up, and you'll be the only ones who get this bonus when we launch our product. Now let's get tiling. We will be starting off with these monster 24 by 48 tiles. They probably weigh 50 pounds each, I wanna say. So this is 100% gonna be a 2-person job between me and Elena. It took us a long time to nail down what we really liked for wall tile. I can't remember the manufacturer of this, but it's called Kendridge, and it's a wood look tile. So it's supposed to, resemble a bunch of little wood slats or long continuous little tiles, but obviously it's just one gigantic tile. So there's only 9 tiles that need to go on the back wall. It's a 6 foot wide by 9 foot tall wall, and this should be the easy part.
Another reason why we picked the large tile for the back wall is because there is significantly less grout that we'll have to clean. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that work for the floor. For the sides though, we wanted to do kind of like an accent. We didn't really want the whole shower to be that large format tile. So we decided on this like textured subway tile. It is a beige color, and each tile is a slightly different beige. They're not all the same. Some are more white, and then some do have that like creamier brown tone within them. Here's an example of how the color varies. You can just see how this is a little bit more beige, and then this is more of like a bright white. To keep with the theme of the vertical lines on this large tile, we're gonna be running the subway vertically, and we're gonna stack it. We're not sure yet if we're gonna stagger it in any way, but we will be running that all vertically.
We also chose grout that matched the lines in this tile as closely as possible. It's the same as what's in the floor here. That's Laticrete's Fossil color. Every good tile job starts with a good layout. Luckily with this big stuff, it's pretty easy. We're gonna put one full length tile centered right up. I've already marked some lines here to show me where that is, and then we'll measure and cut the 2 sides so that our cut edges are hidden at the corners when we butt our subway tile up against it. And we're just gonna stack that straight up. We're not staggering seams or anything like that. Just keep the seams going right as they are. Another important thing to check is our corners are nice and plumb, because that will cause issues down the road. Now, luckily, because we did the shower from the start, we were able to shave down our studs, make sure that we're as plumb as we could possibly be on these side walls. This side is basically dead on. This corner over here, when I put the laser on it, and I kind of saw this too, I probably should have corrected it with some shims up top before I put this board on, but the top corner leans back just about 1/4 of an inch. So there's a possibility that those tiles we cut up there are just gonna be a little bit of a trapezoid shape instead of a rectangle, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I marked the center of this tile, and I would like to dry fit it first to measure out, just so that we don't screw anything up, because that's always a possibility. All right, you hold that there. Let me get the tape measure. Where's my tape measure? Oh, we are just shy of a foot here, or 30 centimeters if doing the European units. Maybe I should use European units just for the ease of things. So we just got to remember that as long as we're within the thickness of this tile, we're good, because this is going to cover any imperfections in our cut here. This stuff is like, oh, it's 3/8 of an inch thick. 1/8 of an inch grout joint, 11 and 11/16. Welcome to our cut station. We are underneath our nice waterproof deck. If you can't tell, it's raining. It has been raining all day. And we only have this little bit of rain down here. I don't have my gutter up yet. So there's still a line of water where all of the baffles are draining down, but we have some dry space, most importantly, that we can cut this tile in. These are way too big to go on my tile saw, so we're breaking out the old-fashioned angle grinder and a hose. Elena's gonna hold this kind of at a low flow, and I'm going to cut. Like I thought, the side cuts are not going to be totally rectangular. At the bottom edge where our waterproofing band is, it kind of builds out that corner a little bit. So we need to accommodate for that, cutting these tiles. I just made 2 little quick sketches that sort of outline what these are going to look like, which factory edges we're going to use, because we want to make sure it's only factory edges exposed, cut edges against the wall. It's only the very last 4 inches or so that we have to taper this down. I've learned these fine point Pica markers are the way to go. Marking tile just because pencil gets washed off immediately if you don't. They're just so crisp and clean. So we're just about to fire up the grinder, and I'm thinking we probably should check we have enough tile and make sure that what we're doing works. So minor moment of panic. We broke out another trusty piece of paper here, laid out our, we only have 8 of these tiles. These things are crazy expensive. What did we pay for these? I want to say well over $1,000 for 8 tiles. It was stupid.
Yeah, I think it's like 48 a tile.
So we only have 8 tiles to work with. I did this a while back, but I could not remember what I did when I did the takeoff. So 1, 2, 3, 4 will go up the center. 5 is like a split half because it's a 9-foot ceiling. Thankfully, we wouldn't have been able to do this if we went up to the 10-foot. 6, 7, 8 are all halves of tiles that will all generate center offcuts. So these 9th pieces here will use 2 of those center offcuts to do the side pieces that are 3/4 the way up. So we're good, but it's always good to double check that your really expensive tile is going to actually go the whole distance.
Okay, what kind of spray are we talking?
All right, you just gave me a little soft jet. You're not trying to
Jet or?
put the little jet stream on, right? But you're just barely, you're not, yeah.
We're not going.
Oh my God, why would you do that?
Oh, it's not even in the frame, dang it.
Why would? You're terrible. You're terrible.
Okay, so actually though, like that.
I'm gonna get soaked. I'm getting soaked back here. And I'm getting soaked up top.
Apron?
No, it's good. I'll just stand like this. I'm gonna score the rest of it. Yep, I figured it would. That's why I didn't want it to get too much stress without me scoring it, so
Yeah.
let me just clean the edge up here where it broke. Cool,
Let me just shower it off.
worked out okay.
Definitely chips a decent amount because it's a pattern on it.
We'll have to figure out a good clean way to cut this. Maybe on the last bit, we might want to try to do that in the actual wet saw. That should give it a much cleaner cut than what this angle grinder can do.
But that's okay because it's going to be covered.
This will be covered, yes. Yep, went pretty clean. Cool.
Okay, lift it up towards me. I know.
My pants are soaked. Let's conduct a little dry fit, and then we can start mixing mortar up. I could probably use a little bit of room here, but I can still get the 16th grout joint. George, grab those bags, please.
Hey, you're George.
Come on, get the bags.
No. Oh,
Just coming over to lick your shoe.
Give me kisses. Okay, you put your paws right here. You hold.
You hold. It's my first time ever using these self-leveling spacers, so I just wanted to see how that works, but it looks like it's going to be pretty easy. I just pray that we can break this thing off when it's finally time to, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it too. This is going to look so cool when it goes all the way up the wall. It is going to be very realistic. Like even without grout, and that's a way wider gap than it's going to be in real life, you're not going to be able to see any of those grout joints. It's going to look totally continuous.
It's gonna be cool.
And we could not do it without the help of our tile dog. There's a good boy. The dry fit checked out perfectly, so we can mix some mortar up now. The mortar we'll be using, or thin set I guess technically, is this Latacrete Multi-Max Light. It is specifically formulated for large, heavy tile. like this. This is probably as large and heavy as they come, at least for residential applications. I don't really know what the technical difference is between this large format mortar versus regular. Maybe this stuff just sticks and grabs a little bit better to keep the heavy tile from sagging. I'm sure someone more educated on tile than me in the comments can comment on that. But according to the bag, this is the right stuff for the job. I'm already noticing a major difference between the 254 Platinum, which is what we've been using for all the rest of the tile, and that's the water. So this is a 50-pound bag and they're asking for 5.5 quarts of water. The Multimax for large heavy tile is still asking for almost the same amount of water, 4.8 to 5, but this is a 25-pound bag. So this stuff is gonna be really soupy, I'm gonna guess. That's, I guess, what you want for large heavy tile because you will not be able to put that much pressure on it. It's gonna be soaking up all your force over a large area. And we're still trying to collapse big trowel marks, 1/2 by 1/2 ridges. So that is probably why you need the lightweight mortar. I'm gonna do half the bag, so 2.5 quarts. As always, water first. And this is not the measuring cup out of our kitchen. Putting this nasty old tile water in. Mostly rainwater, actually. It's sitting out here. So there's 2.5. Safety first, kids. So it's gotta go roughly down to the T of Multimax. If I were really anal, I'd get out the scale, but I think that's okay. I call that it right there. Harbor Freight mixer for the win. This looks so dry. I can't believe it's gonna mix together. Oh, it's so thick. I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. Not a ton. Holy smokes. I mean, it seems really sticky. That's for darn sure. Toothpaste. We're gonna try it. I mean, that's how much water it said to put in for half a bag. 5 minutes later, one more little slake mix. Woo! Yeehaw. I don't know where I would be without that Harbor Freight paddle mixer. That would make my life a heck of a lot harder to try to do this by hand. And make sure whatever you do, if you're using one of those paddle mixers, either get a real paddle mixer gun or an actual corded drill, not a cordless drill. I've learned that lesson the hard way. George, we got mortar mixed. Are you ready? I went ahead and threw some masking tape down here to protect these tiles from scratches from the heavy tile above it, but also globs of thin set just chilling there. Oh my gosh. It does feel light. It really does actually. It feels like marshmallow compared to the other stuff. Like when I pick this up on my trowel, I barely feel anything on it.
Let me try.
It's very strange.
Oh, wow, that is
Yeah,
weird.
it feels like marshmallow. It's thick. I can't believe that. That's kind of strange. All right, well, here we go. We're gonna have to back butter the tile because it's so big, and then we also have to key in the mortar on the wall.
So do that first, right?
You can do the keying in on the wall. All right, to make sure this sticks for sure, because this has got these little harries on our board, we just gotta scrape mortar across it to sort of get it started. And we're gonna do this everywhere that tile sits. So that tile is gonna roughly come out to like here and here. So we're gonna cover this whole area with just a thin layer just to get it started. And then we're gonna trowel our 1/2-inch trowel on here. But this just makes sure that we don't have any dry areas where there's not gonna be a bond. I was not expecting it to be this easy to work with because when I mixed this, it was dry as a bone. Like I couldn't believe how much powder went into like no water, but it went in, much to my dismay. There's definitely a different feeling working with this though than that 254 Platinum. This stuff spreads like marshmallow. The 254 will like fall off the trowel a lot more easily. This does not seem to want to do that at all. All right. Yeah, this stuff sticks. You can just stick, you could not really do that with normal mortar.
It would fall off.
Oh yeah, it would fall off. Wow, this is cool. Definitely gonna use a lot up. This is so much harder to keep the beads full than it is with the small trowel. See how I'm getting full, these big empty spots? Mm-hmm. It's hard. I don't want to go all the way to the bottom because there's going to be a ton of squeeze out. Do it over on the shower. Okay. The way.
Out of the way?
Yeah, that's for the side spacer. George, you're licking me.
Georgie, come on now.
George is licking the thin set.
Don't lick it, please. I need to go to the hospital.
George, you're naked. You're naked as a bird. You can't set tile when you're naked. Push it.
I'm trying just to not let it touch the wall first. I'm trying.
It can touch the wall. It's not going to hurt anything. I need to give a good shimmy to collapse these ridges. George is pushing. Get it, buddy. He's getting it. Good boy. Look at that. Look at him collapsing his ridges. Oh, he's licking the thin set. I think that's about as collapsed as we're going to be able to get those ridges. That's all of Elena's weight going into there, and that's why you backbiter these big tiles, because it's like, it is so hard to push those things in. All right, we're making headway on our very first large format install of our life. Stuff is kind of hard to work with, to be honest. It's just so heavy. Heavy, and you can't put much pressure on these big pieces to collapse those ridges. I can really see why people want to use those self-leveling wedges and little round, there's like a round version of it too. I opted for the wedges just because, I don't know why, but they really do help these big tiles stay even with one another and prevent lippage, which just otherwise could be avoided. Combing out these 1/2-inch rows is a lot harder too, just because you can't just kind of freewheel it anywhere you want. You gotta like actually make sure these things are in the right row, or else you're gonna screw up the row next to you.
Is 1/2 inch the size? Is it bigger?
Bigger tile, bigger trowel notch. Like the V notch for the floor mosaic was like nothing. I mean, you could just scrape that basically everywhere. This, not the same. These are the little wedge guys that go behind the tile, and they seem to snug in there pretty well. Although, you know, I'm gonna clean that out first. I don't know if 3 is the right number or how often you should be doing it, but that's what we're doing. Will it fit? Oh yeah, she's gonna fit with room to spare. So much easier to get stuck to the wall. It's more like a regular sized tile, not some like sheet of plywood that we're sticking to the wall. So I'm gonna close this gap up with my pry bar in the corner. I wanna keep these nice and tight. These spacers are like, they say 1.5 millimeters on them, but they're like about a 1/16 of an inch, a little less actually. The idea is that once that grout's in there, you don't see the difference between this and this. All looks like one thing all the way up. That's what we're hoping for anyway. We make this pliers for this thing to like really jam this on there, but I found that just putting them in by hand is pretty much plenty. Like using the pliers tends to just open up the gap more than it is really helping you. Alternate this one. Just keeps these two things right in plane and keeps this lippage to 0.
We cut it really, really close with this second big tile. This bucket is empty. The back of the tile is buttered, and Alex is just finishing out these ridges.
Don't drop it. Ooh, yeah, that way is right.
This is a lot of force.
It's hard, I know, it's really hard to squeeze these boys down. Whoa, you're gonna push the whole wall of the house over. Over here it's dead perfect, and over there it's not, even within the same tile.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really anything you can do about that. It's just the manufacturing of it. So check this out. We started off with this being absolutely perfect. We shifted this to the left now a little bit. Even still with this top one's just a little bit left to the bottom. You come over to the other side of the tile, the top one is to the right of the bottom. So what the heck? I guess you don't even always get what you pay for. These were insanely expensive. Some made in Brazil tile, imported, and I guess even still the pattern can't stay straight between tiles, but it is what it is. Once we get the grout all in, it should all sort of wash out. These do work really nicely for keeping these nice and flat. I'm just praying that these clips break off though. I think you're supposed to do it with a hammer or something to make sure it's just like a impact that shears it. You can't like bend them. Half bag does exactly 1, 2, 2.5 tile. One bag will pretty much get us up to this seam right here. Got smarter on the second time, put our chicken processing aprons on, so who would have thought that would have come in handy for a tile job. This is the center offcut piece, and it's a good thing that we score the full way before we start plunging in too deep, because this is what happens. This thing chipped right out as soon as it got to this last bit. all the stress was on this section and it chipped this out. Now luckily we had already scored it, so it didn't chip out of our good piece, which was over here. But just keep that in mind for these large formats. Score the whole way before going through anywhere. Mortar batch number 2, let's get going. With these big tiles, I found it helpful to put some marks up on the wall roughly where your mortar's got to stop, just so you don't end up coming short or going way past where your tile's actually going to be with your mortar. Do you see this? That's a bead of sweat, because I guess I mixed this batch a little bit stiffer than the last, even though I put the same amount of water in, and it's been really hard to trowel this out, so hopefully we can get this thing on here. One after this we're gonna need the ladder for. Do not drop it, whatever you do. If you drop this, we're gonna have major problems. And push. Holy smokes, this is gonna be a workout trying to push this thing in here. Push and wiggle. This is crazy. Crazy amount of effort. Okay, don't break the tile.
Yeah, I bet that's true.
It's like hanging a giant picture.
Oh, you kind of did. You're doing good.
All right, we're at a bit of a stopping point here. We just have 5 more tiles left. If you remember my little diagram, the 2 right here have to get cut from offcuts from the other sides that we've been cutting. So the issue there is we have 2 rough edges. We need to make a clean factory edge, just like the ones that are up there. So we have to figure out a slightly different way of cutting. My first instinct was to use painter's tape on the tile and then you still use the angle grinder. And that did do a better job than no painter's tape, but it still wasn't perfect. For comparison, here's an original cut, that jagged edge there. Here is angle grinder with painter's tape. And now I've rigged up my wet saw with what I call an extension table, AKA just a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And this was my original diamond serrated blade. And then I switched to my glass tile blade, and look at that. Now that is just a very light score. It is not cutting all the way through the tile, but the glass tile blade without the serrations does a really nice job at leaving a clean cut there. So I'm gonna try to use that. The hard part's gonna be keeping this big piece of tile straight on here. Maybe I'll clamp an edge guide or something. That's gonna be the hardest part because we're not gonna be able to do this in one pass. Like I said, that glass tile blade can only score just a little bit. This is like a 1/2 inch thick tile almost, so there's no way it can cut it all in one pass. It would totally crack the tile in half. So we'll need to be patient with this one. So I've got my fence set up. I looked at the offset from this edge right here, and the next line is about 80 millimeters. So I'm working in metric on this one. So I fastened my temporary fence accordingly, also accounted for the blade width here, and set the height of the blade so that it just scores the top edge of this, because I don't need to go all the way through. This blade cannot cut all the way through in one pass because this tile is just so thick. But if I get that nice crisp score line from the front decorative side, I can then come from the back with the angle grinder and do the rest of it. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it breaks nice and clean. I actually really like working in millimeters. I wish we did this in the US. I don't know who came up with the non-metric system, but it doesn't make any damn sense. Like, would you rather me say 80 millimeters or 3 5/32 of an inch? Like, who can remember that? I also don't know what it is, but whenever I work in metric, I just think of the numbers in a British accent and I want to say them in a British accent, like 80 millimeters, 80 millimeters, 80 millimeters. I think I could get it with some practice. How do we do? Yeah, it wasn't very deep.
Oh.
Actually, I thought that was bad, but it turns out it does look good on the front. Those little chips must have just fallen off. However, we did not score deep enough here. We could tell kind of at the beginning we really didn't get a good score on it, and that chipped. But everywhere else, it actually is still quite clean. So we just got to modify our technique a little bit. We just have to go 1 groove over, and we only need 11 inches out of this tile. So a little bit of a learning process. Hannah, this is looking so freaking good.
We are finally down to the last 3 tiles on this back wall. Cutting these tiles yesterday took a long time. I gave up halfway, but Alex persevered. So yeah, we're excited to get these last 3 up. Alex has been in charge of getting the wall ready, and then I've been down here back buttering these tiles. It goes a lot quicker that way. If he is not finished by the time I'm done back buttering, then I'll go ahead and start prepping the walls. But that process has worked really well for us and has kept us moving pretty quickly.
Rough edge on the top.
There she is.
We had a little extra mortar left over from that batch, but instead of throwing it away, we came up with this little idea for you homesteading folks. Grab some little plastic cups, some scrap electrical wire, and we made a bunch of little weights. We're basically just bending a little L in the bottom of the wire, sticking it down in there while it's wet, and then once that dries, that's gonna become a weight to train down the limbs of our little baby apple trees, which we just planted. The shoots try to go straight up, so when they're small, the limbs are still flexible enough that with a little bit of weight, you can bend them down. The idea is with apples, you want them to grow out, so they don't get so tall that you can't pick the apple without a ladder. So you wanna keep them small. They are dwarf trees, so they will stay small. But I grew up working at an orchard, and I guess I can't take credit for this idea because we used the same technique then. It was slightly larger cups and we just put concrete in them, but we'd make thousands of these things because we'd have to do a whole orchard full of new trees. So when we had this leftover mortar, rather than just lumping it up and throwing it in the garbage, thought might as well get some more use out of it. The wedges seem to come out pretty easy. And the technique of hitting it with the hammer from the side was straight from the manual, and it seems to work pretty well. Like, I would say 90% of the time. Gotta get it just right for it to really work. My worst nightmare was having to dig everyone out with a knife, so I'm glad that for the most part they are coming out pretty easily. So I got all the spacers out, and most of them came out just fine, except for in about 15 places. Worst nightmare happened and they broke off basically flush with the tile. What's really lame like this one is there's no thin set that squeezed out around that would cause that to stick in there. It's literally just the weight of these heavy tiles pinching that is preventing it from breaking off. Like this one was totally my fault. I should have cleaned that out, but I didn't see it and that held that guy in. But you look at this one, both tabs broken off flush, no thin set around. My fault, not my fault. Not my fault. So I tried going at it with one of these guys, and this plastic is just so tough. It's really hard to do that without risking hurting the tile because these are only 1/16 of an inch grout lines. And this pattern is printed on the surface. So I don't want to get too crazy with this knife, or a chisel is what I was thinking of, or a punch or something. And then I broke out the good old fashioned interwebs and found this awesome trick. Don't use a knife. Instead, use a soldering iron. This is a little $40 one I just got on Amazon not that long ago. You can set the temperature on it. I experimented with a couple and this works so well. I bumped up the temp till it was just kind of plowing through the plastic, melting it, but not even close to hurting the tile. 200 Celsius is what that landed on. Check this out. Just plows right through it, and the tip is small enough to get in there. Look at that. Gives you a nice groutable joint right there. Takes a few passes to get it deep enough. Look at that though. No messing around with a knife or a chisel. No damage to the tile. Just a clean, groutable joint. So I thought we'd be able to fit the subway tile in this video, but there's a lot going on there and that would have made this video way too long. Make sure you're subscribed so you get notified when that video drops next week. Like I said earlier, if you're planning your dream home build, addition, or other major home improvement project, make sure to get on our email list, masondixonacres.com, or scan the QR code. We're launching our first major product in early 2026. It's exactly for you and could save you a boatload of time, energy, and money on your project. And we're giving a special launch bonus only to those people who are on the email list. So make sure you're on it. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.